Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Thank you all so much for joining us. Now, we'll be allowing around half an hour for registration. So in the meantime, our delegates, our guests are just making their way into our virtual lobbies and our networking sessions. People are still logging in. So we will be planning on starting at 9 a.m. this morning. In the meantime, enjoy your virtual networking, grab your coffee. We shall see you very soon. It's great to have you with us. I think we are good to go with exactly who we have right now to respect your time and respect the start of the program. So if you're ready, I know it's very early on a Monday morning, we're going to count you down from 3 to 1, and then we'll click for the group photograph. Is everybody ready? We'll wait for our one head of delegate. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to count you down for your group photograph. All right, then. All right, I'm going to count you down in 3, 2, 1. Let's do one more. I'll count you down again in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you so much. We'd like to invite you now to press the red leave button from the sessions, and that will take you back into our main reception as we get ready to enter the stage. Have a wonderful morning. We'll see you shortly. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a very warm welcome to the China ASEAN Interbank Association, CAIBA, 11th Executive Board meeting, and ASEAN Plus 3 Interbank Cooperation Mechanism, APTIBCM, the second Executive Board meeting. Now, today's event is co-hosted by Bank Islam Brunei, BIBD, and China Development Bank, and the theme today, Empowering the Future with Sustainability Goals and Digitalization. We are delighted to have so many of you join us from all across the region. Thank you very much for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we begin with our opening remarks, of which we have from 4 of our members. And with that, I'd like to welcome firstly, Yang Mulia Tuan Haji Sofian bin Muhammad Jani, Acting Managing Director of Brunei Investment Agency and the Board of Director of Bank Islam Brunei Darussalam BIBD, for his opening remarks. Tuan Haji Sofian, welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Senior management of the China Development Bank, representatives of the China ASEAN Interbank Association, CAIBA, representatives of the ASEAN Plus 3 Interbank Cooperation Mechanism, APTIBCM, respective delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. On behalf of Bank Islam Brunei Darussalam BIBD, please allow me to virtually welcome you all to the 11th Executive Board meeting of the China ASEAN Interbank Association and ASEAN Plus 3 Interbank Cooperation Mechanism Executive Meeting. It is indeed an honor to be hosting this auspicious event today, and our only regret is that we are unable to convene this meeting in person. Nevertheless, as we adapt to these ever-changing and challenging times, we hope that having this meeting in such an exceptional format makes it no less meaningful and productive. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's CAIBA and APTIBCM theme, Empowering the Future with Sustainability Goals and Digitalization, which is in line with the theme for the 2021 ASEAN Summit, We Care, We Prepare, We Prosper, which was held in Brunei Darussalam just last week. This theme is particularly timely as the world continues to emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic. As of last month, this disease has registered a grim milestone of over 235 million confirmed cases, with 4.8 million deaths. This number continues to rise. Throughout much of 2021, public health officials across the world have intensified their vaccination programs to reach herd immunity and ensure that populations are able to live with the virus in a way that is safe and manageable. Despite the challenges and uncertainties of the past few years, the unprecedented and widespread impact of COVID-19, ASEAN banking industry remains resilient through establishment of strong capital base and disciplined risk management. This resiliency also stems from the strong support that banks have received from their individual governments and central banks, which have helped banks cope with the impact of the pandemic. It has been heartening to see central banks unleashing vast amount of liquidity into the banking system through various methods, including reducing the reserve requirement ratios. Ladies and gentlemen, in early August, Brunei Darussalam was hit with a second wave of COVID-19 after living virus-free for 15 months. Brunei have registered more than 11,000 confirmed cases. As Brunei continues to grapple with the impact of COVID-19, government continues to provide support to those whose livelihoods have been affected by the pandemic. Employees who have been terminated or furloughed due to COVID-19 and those who are self-employed will be eligible for financial aid for 3 months as part of the government's additional measures to assist individuals and businesses who are struggling to stay afloat amid extended COVID-19 control measures. The Ministry of Finance and Economy had also introduced revised fiscal measures to help businesses ride out the coronavirus-induced slowdown in economic activities, including the provision of wage subsidy and social security contributions. Similarly, Brunei Darussalam Central Bank, along with Brunei Association of Banks, have also rolled out various measures to ensure that the Brunei banking industry remains strong during these times. BIBD, as the largest financial institution and a partner in progress for the country, has also continued our strong support for the community during this time. With the outbreak of the second wave and the activation of our BCP, the bank currently has more than 60% of our staff working from home. However, with the strict implementation of SOPs, the bank continues to stay open and serve our customers, albeit with a limited number of branches and shorter working hours. The bank has also extended our COVID-19 relief package aimed at businesses and individuals who have been financially impacted by the pandemic. From a community aspect, our CSR Initiative Community for Brunei, or CFB, continues to support for the community through its online platform. CFB provides a virtual marketplace complete with online payment gateway and integrated logistics solutions so that local micro-enterprises who have been affected by COVID-19 restrictions can continue to reach their customers. The platform also works closely with local NGOs to raise donations for various social causes, while also highlighting NGO projects and invite members of the public to volunteer. 2 months since the start of the second wave in August, CFB has onboarded more than 100 vendors, the largest uptake in less than 2 months, and collected roughly $27,000 in donations for respective NGOs, which have been channeled towards various COVID-related initiatives in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is anything positive that we can take from COVID-19, it is the realization that digital transformation and sustainability are among several opportunities that have emerged from this tragedy. The pandemic has brought about and accelerated a paradigm shift in the global economy, with a particular focus on digital transformation and more conversation around sustainability. In the COVID and post-COVID era, many organizations have realized the significance of technology and digitalization. Where physical movement was restricted, many businesses were forced to shift their operations to digital platforms. Many consumers also preferring an online presence. This preference has also compelled banks to rethink their operating models. Many ASEAN banks have been quick to embrace technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, and biometrics, with BIBD being no exception. BIBD continues to be the only bank in Brunei to provide a comprehensive digital ecosystem where almost every service can be accessed without having to physically step into a branch. Our next-gen suite of digital banking solutions include a QR-based payment platform known as BIBD QuickPay, which has been especially useful in this pandemic era, as more and more consumers prefer contactless and cashless payment methods. COVID-19 has also highlighted the relationship between health of communities and that of the environment, conversation around sustainability, and the movement towards ESG criteria increasingly shaping the global corporate agenda. There is a realization that business models in various sectors need to be revised towards a more sustainable economy, with the financial sector playing a unique role in generating important incentives for the real economy through sustainable finance products, which can support companies in their transformation. As the nation's largest Islamic financial institution, BIBD has always been guided by the Maqasid Sharia, which is concerned with the preservation and promotion of faith, life, the mind, of progeny, and of wealth. Realizing that the Maqasid cannot be attained without the support of other objectives, BIBD adopts a whole nation approach, working with the relevant stakeholders, the government, private sector, as well as the community in ensuring that each objective can be attained, leading to the creation of our ideal society. In line with the bank's commitment as a partner in progress, BIBD has always complemented government's effort to achieve Brunei Vision 2035 in both business activities and corporate social responsibility initiatives. Moving forward, BIBD is pledging a commitment to work together with all levels of society towards a more sustainable future by focusing on the 17 UN SDGs. These goals are already intrinsically aligned with BIBD's responsible banking practices and CSR activities, with the bank committing to do more to accelerate progress towards achieving these 17 goals in the near future. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to hearing your unique insights and learning from your respective experiences towards empowering the future with sustainability goals and digitalization. I hope today's sessions will be fruitful and productive and serve as valuable information sharing session for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yang Mulia Tuan Haji Sophian. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move into our second welcome address. It's my pleasure to call upon Mr. Zuidong So, Executive Vice President of China Development Bank, for his opening remarks. A warm welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. We hand over to you now.
好，很高兴通过视频方式与大家见面，共同出席本次会议。首先，我谨代表中国国家开发银行，向出席本次会议的文莱中央银行董事总经理罗基亚·巴代尔女士、中国驻东盟使团大使邓锡军先生及各位银联体成员行、观察员行代表表示热烈欢迎。对文莱伊斯兰银行董事索菲安·贾尼先生及其团队为银联体合作和本次会议召开所做的大量工作表示衷心感谢。当前新冠肺炎疫情仍在全球起伏反复，世界经济不稳定，不确定性增加，各国只有凝聚共识，深化合作，同舟共济，才能共同战胜困难挑战。经过长期努力奋斗，中国已经全面建成小康社会，实现现行标准下农村贫困人口全部脱贫，开启了全面建设社会主义现代化国家新征程。在前不久召开的联合国大会上，习近平主席向世界提出了全球发展倡议，并强调各国推动实现更加强劲、绿色、健康的全球发展，共同推动全球发展 迈向平衡、协调、包容新阶段。在新的征程上，中国将以自身的新发展为世界提供新机遇，为中国与东南亚合作带来新的契机。东盟是中国周边外交优先方向和高质量共建“一带一路”的重点地区。今年是中国东盟建立对话关系30周年，30年来，中国东盟贸易扩大了85倍，双方关系迅猛发展，各领域合作日益深化。今年我们也开启了中国东盟银联体合作第2个10年的新阶段。过去10年来，中国东盟银联体已经成为中国与东盟国家之间重要的多边金融合作机制。2019年，中日韩东盟银联体成立，进一步拓宽了朋友圈，为深化东亚地区财经合作发挥了重要作用。在目前召开的10+3领导人会议上，鼓励10+3银联体为地区社会发展和经济复苏提供融资支持，被写入主席声明中，体现出各国政府对银联体工作的高度肯定与积极支持。值此时刻，我们一起共叙友好，共商合作，共迎挑战，对未来发展具有十分重要的意义。作为银联体的联合主席行，中国国家开发银行一直以来致力于国际金融合作，国际业务覆盖了世界上100多个国家和地区。截止今年3季度末，中国国家开发银行资产总额达到16.78万亿人民币，约合2.62万亿美元，在日韩和东盟国家发放贷款超过490亿美元，余额超过190亿美元，支持项目超过320个，在规划编制、产业发展、人文交流等领域也开展了广泛合作。围绕服务共建“一带一路”，中国国家开发银行已对来自东盟国家的250余名在华留学生给予了一次性奖励，并在东盟蓝莓合作机制下举行了近35期多双边交流研讨活动，涉及东盟国家参与人员达到1800余人次，为深化区域经济合作打下了基础。在银联体框架下，中国国家开发银行与韩国产业银行35亿元境外人民币授信已于今年实现全额发放，与柬埔寨嘉华银行的新增授信合作也正在加速推进。孔子曰：“30而立。”中国东盟关系已迈入而立之年，在这承前启后的关键时期，为更好发挥2个银联体的平台和纽带作用，进一步释放多边合作潜力，围绕本次会议主题，我提几点建议与大家交流。第一，以包容互惠为中心，聚焦务实合作。习近平主席指出，要坚持普惠包容，关注发展中国家特殊需求，着力解决国家间和各国内部发展不平衡、不充分问题。中国国家开发银行积极践行在疫情面前推进国际抗疫合作，第一时间设立专项贷款，支持受疫情影响的“一带一路”项目。在东盟地区，通过与嘉华银行等银联体成员行的融资合作，将贷款资金直达当地中小微企业，惠及民生福祉。由中国国家开发银行牵头支持的老挝首条高速公路万象至万荣高速公路正式通车，直接解决当地4000多人就业，间接创造了就业岗位达到5万多个，惠及沿线10万多老百姓。我们建议在银联体框架下，根据不同国家的不同发展阶段和资源禀赋，因地制宜优化在民生薄弱环节和瓶颈领域的金融合作，继续加强抗疫合作，共同克服疫情带来的不利影响，增强各国人民的获得感、幸福感、安全感。为此，中国国家开发银行愿继续与大家一道，在商业可持续和风险可控原则下，加大对中小企业和社会民生项目的支持力度，有效促进就业，提升当地人民生活水平。 第二，以绿色转型为驱动，加强金融创新。去年，习近平主席已郑重向世界作出承诺，表示中国将力争2030年前实现碳达峰，2060年前实现碳中和。中国国家开发银行作为中国绿色信贷的主力银行，截止今年3季度末，绿色信贷余额达到2.4万亿人民币，居国内首位，并已成功发行碳中和绿色债券，引导社会资金参与绿色低碳发展。我们建议在银联体框架下继续推进绿色金融产品和市场体系创新，积极培育和支持可持续发展项目，并将绿色低碳循环发展理念嵌入银行机构的管理、业务发展和企业文化全流程中。为此，中国国家开发银行愿与大家一道，深化在绿色方法标准制定、绿色运营实现路径、气候风险评估管控以及低碳项目投融资等方面全方位金融合作，支持区域国家疫后经济绿色复苏和低碳转型。第三，以数字经济为导向，增强发展动能。习近平主席指出，新技术新业态已经成为实现经济社会发展的强大技术支撑。我们建议在银联体框架下，积极发挥好银联体先行先导和融资引领作用，支持科技创新成果向现实生产力转化，以数字经济带动传统制造业转型升级，打造疫后发展新动能。各成员行、观察员行要继续加强信息系统建设，加快推进自身经营能力数字化转型，推动大数据、互联网、人工智能、区块链等新技术与银行业的深度融合。为此，中国国家开发银行愿与大家一道，探索挖掘区域内的数字化发展项目，互学互鉴，携手实现跨越发展。第四，以开放融通为基础，完善合作机制。习近平主席指出，在经济全球化时代，开放融通是不可阻挡的历史趋势。我们建议在银联体框架下，加强金融机构间的信息交流和经验分享，丰富合作模式，拓展合作渠道，推动与世界银行、亚洲基础设施投资银行等多边金融机构的交流合作，通过银团贷款、联合融资等方式，积极开展第三方市场合作，多方参与实现共同受益、相互成就。为此，中国国家开发银行愿与大家一道，进一步完善区域经济治理架构，构建更广泛和紧密的伙伴关系，推动区域国家深度参与全球金融治理。各位同事、女士们、先生们，中国东盟银联体和10+3银联体合作已迈入新的阶段。中国国家开发银行愿意继续与银联体各成员行、观察员行一道，坚守合作的初心，加强沟通协调，共筑高质量金融合作机制，支持区域包容性发展，促进世界经济加快复苏，为共创繁荣美好未来做出新的更大贡献。最后，预祝本次会议圆满成功，谢谢大家。
Thank you, Mr. Swidong. So, ladies and gentlemen, and now from the Korean Development Bank, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Lee Byung-ho, Executive Director of Korea Development Bank. Mr. Lee, over to you.
His Excellency Mr. Dong Si-jun, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of People's Republic of China to ASEAN, Haja Lokia Hajibaka of BIBD and distinguished members of CAIBA and APTIBCM, good morning. The ongoing pandemic is teaching us the crucial importance of solidarity and partnership. In times like these, it is a privilege to have and to be part of these platforms. allowing us to connect and continue our cooperation and vision. Young Mulia Haji Sofian Jani, member of the board of directors at BIBD, and Mr. Zhou Suedong, Executive Vice President of CDB. Thank you so much for jointly organizing and hosting this important meeting today. As the theme of this year's meeting suggests, the world is witnessing a formation of a new economic order underpinned by the global race towards carbon net zero goals. Achieving net zero emissions as an international agreement. This means each country's net zero strategy is directly linked to their global competitiveness. Last year, the Korean government made a historic commitment to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. Since then, the Korean Parliament passed the Framework Act on Carbon Neutrality and Green Growth, laying the legal and institutional groundwork to respond to climate crisis. In our support for the government's climate goals, KBD became the first Korean institution to adopt the equated principles in 2017, expanding our environmental and social capacity. As the only Korean accredited entity of the Green Climate Fund, KBD is constantly developing and providing financial support for climate projects in frontier markets. This year, we introduced what we call the Carbon Spread Program. We believe that this will promote companies to actually cut down on their emissions, because we provide differentiated cooperation between companies with different outlooks on reducing carbon emissions. Because achieving net zero goals require collaboration at every level and dimension. We are working with leaders around the world to learn and join forces with them. The P4G summit held in Korea this May, and the Development 20 Long-Term Investors Club, which KDB joined as a new member in September, were opportunities for us to galvanize the momentum towards green finance and carbon neutrality among key stakeholders. Likewise, KDB looks forward to working with each and every one of you as a member of this community, united in response to climate crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, against the conventional wisdom, the pandemic further accelerated the global transition towards a green economy. And the same way, digital innovation is rapidly taking hold across the world. Digitalization has transformed the way we live, the way we access medicine, spend money, work, and so much more. At the same time, it is offering opportunities that were unseen before. And I dare say that everyone here financially represents countries that are using digital innovation in the most dynamic and creative way as a new engine of growth. KDB is also mobilizing its resources for the successful implementation of Korean government's digital New Deal strategy. We are supporting industries and businesses that are driving the digital revolution. This is because navigating the new normal in the post-pandemic era calls for a new generation of leaders. So we are making bold investments to deepen Korea's innovation ecosystem through our exclusive venture capital platforms like KDB, Next Round, and Next Rise, a global startup fair. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout the pandemic, we are learning again and again that no one can overcome crisis alone. We must work together. Platforms like CAIBA and APTIBCM, designed for common good and prosperity of our region, is an indispensable tool not only for overcoming crisis, but also for wide discussion and cooperation. As we seek to navigate the uncharted water of green and digital transitions, I hope we can together find a way towards more resilient, creative, and prosperous world for our region. And in the near future, when the pandemic does come to an end, I hope to see you all in person. Thank you.
Mr. Lee, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, and finally, for our opening keynote remarks, we would like to welcome from Japan Bank for International Cooperation, Mr. Nobumitsu Hayashi, the Deputy Governor, for his opening remarks, who will be joining us as we take a few moments pause to set the stage for him. Mr. Nobumitsu.
I hope you can hear me, and it's great to be with you all this morning. I would like to start by thanking the management as well as staff of Bank Islam Brunei Darussalam and China Development Bank. Well, it's been a year since we got together and agreed on the closer relationship among our member banks in our fight against COVID-19. The social and economic impact of the pandemic has been enormous and complex, and the outlook remains uncertain and ambiguous. But this is not at all the first pandemic that Asian countries have encountered, nor it is the first economic crisis. In the past, we and the Asian economies have overcome a few epidemics, a couple of financial crises, and have always come back more resilient. So it is in this context that we meet together this morning to talk about how we can empower our future with sustainability goals and digitalization. And it is no coincidence that the UK has been hosting COP26 in Glasgow since yesterday. The government of Japan a year ago announced that it aims to be carbon neutral by 2050. And since then, the government has developed green growth strategy to accelerate industrial transformation and innovation toward decarbonization. And we at JBIC has announced its own ESG policy last week. So today, let me make a brief introduction of our policy as well as our activities. JBIC's ESG policy has two pillars to fight against climate change. One is how we can contribute to the implementation of the Paris Accord. And the second is how we can strengthen our climate change finance. On the first pillar, in order to align with the international goals to achieve the objectives of the Paris Agreement, JBIC has committed itself to pursuing ambitious and accelerated efforts to reduce its own operational emissions to net zero by 2030, and to achieve net zero emissions in its finance portfolio by 2050. On the second pillar, in order to strengthen our climate change finance, we will continue to engage with our host countries. We will strengthen our partnership with official institutions. We will mobilize private investment and private lending and support energy transition by emerging and developing countries toward denuclearization, to decarbonization. Well, as a matter of fact, JBIC has supported many a project around the globe for renewable energy and energy efficiency. And as the energy sector is increasingly benefiting from digitalization, we will focus more on green innovation. For example, we have supported a Japanese company who produces advanced smart meters so that the host countries can supply energy in a most stable and CO2 efficient manner. For newer energy, indispensable energy like hydrogen, we have made an equity investment in hydrogen station business in fuel sell electric vehicles in California, USA. Coming back to Asia, the government of Japan has announced in May Asia Energy Transition Initiative. For ASEAN countries need to cope at the same time with increasing electricity demand, together with energy transition toward decarbonization. They need to find workable solutions based on the respective needs and respective resources. JBIC will make best of its experiences and achievements and appropriately understand the needs and resources of host countries through dialogue and support sustainable energy transition so that we can be one of the leading financial institutions in our fight toward decarbonization globally. Now, in such our endeavors, what do we need? It is ASEAN Plus 3 Interbank Cooperation Mechanism and cooperation with you. So I would very much like to seek your understanding and cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, to sum up, in order to achieve sustainable development in our new world with Corona, it is indispensable that we realize carbon neutrality and innovate through digitalized transformation. We very much work with you, with the attending banks, bilaterally and multilaterally. Your suggestions and requests are very much appreciated. I would like to conclude my remark thanking the host banks, your kindness and your leadership. Thank you very, very much.
Mr. Nobumitsu, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the conclusion of our opening remarks. So we now move straight into our keynote speeches. We'll be hearing from Brunei Darussalam and the People's Republic of China. So to begin with, it's my pleasure to now invite Yang Mulia Puan Haja Rokia binti Haji Badar, Managing Director, Brunei Darussalam Central Bank, BDCB, for the first keynote. Puan Haja Rokia, welcome.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'du. Yang Mulia Tuan Haji Sofyan bin Muhammad Jani, Board of Director of Bank Islam Brunei Darussalam, BIBD. Mr. Zhou Dongzhu, Executive Vice President, China Development Bank. Mr. Lee Byun-ho, Executive Director, Korea Development Bank. Mr. Nobumitsu Hayashi, Deputy Governor, Japan Bank for International Cooperation. His Excellency Mr. Deng Zhijun, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the People's Republic of China to ASEAN. Not forgetting Mr. Mubashar Khokhar, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Bank Islam Brunei Darussalam. Distinguished speakers, panelists, and participants. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to those joining us from the region and Europe, and good evening to those joining us from the other side of the globe. It is my great pleasure to take part in this event, joined by distinguished speakers and representatives from the financial industry, both internationally and locally. I would like to take this opportunity to commend the initiative of the China-ASEAN Interbank Association and ASEAN Plus 3 Interbank Cooperation Mechanism meeting in putting forward a theme that complements the Brunei Darussalam's ASEAN Chairmanship theme and priority economic deliverables. The ASEAN Chairmanship theme and priority economic deliverables have placed a great emphasis in showcasing that ASEAN remains focused in building a strong and resilient region that will be able to significantly contribute towards a positive global growth and support global initiatives such as the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Today, I would like to build on those pathways and allude towards the increased traction on sustainability and digitalization issues. These two key developments have significantly impacted the financial services industry and is foreseen to continue to be the game changer in our areas of mutual interests. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I would like to touch on sustainability. Recognizing the increased importance of tackling climate change, the ASEAN finance ministers and central bank governors at our 7th meeting held in March this year has endorsed the establishment of the ASEAN Taxonomy Board. This board will be responsible to develop, maintain, and promote a multi-tiered taxonomy that will consider ASEAN's needs while observing international aspirations and standards. This is just one part of the building blocks that needs to be put in place in creating a sustainable region. In addition to the taxonomy, to ensure that the national and international community approaches towards building a sustainable planet and tackling climate change risks are effectively achieved, policymakers and industry practitioners must come together to create more avenues and greater collaboration, especially in the areas of capacity building and ensuring the availability of ESG data. It is well understood that in embarking on new challenges and reforms, the public and businesses, as well as industry players, may be overwhelmed with the change it will introduce. Therefore, it is imperative that in our endeavors to address climate change risks and other sustainability issues, we gear up the users and the systems through appropriate and adequate capacity building initiatives. There are various platforms available for the financial services sector that can be utilized in this respect, such as the climate bonds initiatives and those under the Bank for International Settlement, BIS. With the rising awareness in creating a sustainable future, supplementary to capacity building initiatives, policymakers, regulators, and industry players must also work together in pursuing initiatives that will ensure ESG data are abundantly available. This will greatly assist both policymakers and the financial institutions in making informed policy and business decisions, as well as conduct environmental risk management in the future. On this front, numerous initiatives have emerged that can assist policymakers, regulators, and industry players to push forward in our pursuit towards positively contributing to sustainable and green economic growth. To name a few are initiatives such as Malaysia's Joint Committee on Climate Change, or JC3, and Singapore's Green Finance Industry Task Force, JFIT. There are also many lessons and experiences that can be learned from China's move towards adoption of the recommendations from Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, TCFD. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to move on to my second focus area, which is digitalization. Technological advancements certainly have emerged as a savior during the emergence and the height of the pandemic. I strongly believe that the development and increased utilization of technology and digital facilities across all sectors prior to the pandemic have greatly contributed to its efficiency and stability. Undoubtedly, digitalization has brought about a new paradigm to the financial services industry and opened up more rooms for improvement in terms of risk management and delivery of products and services. Moreover, the developments in the digital space has unlocked more opportunities for the financial services industry to expand its reach, to promote more connectivity and inclusivity. The past 5 years have seen increased growth of digital financial services operated by non-conventional financial institutions. Whilst these developments have presented regulators and policymakers with new challenges, we have embraced it with open arms and not let any bends on the road impede its potential in improving the people's livelihood. Nevertheless, with the changing prospect of seeing the glass half full, we remain vigilant in ensuring the impact of digital financial services development and integration upon the financial and monetary stability remain low. greater collaboration between regulators and central banks in the region, in recalibrating our safeguard measures and monitoring the risk spillovers that could potentially threaten our resilience and stability, have continued across all platforms, including the ASEAN +3 Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors Forum. In embracing the positive spillovers of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Brunei Darussalam introduced the Digital Economy Master Plan 2025 in 2020 that outlined the strategies for Brunei Darussalam to become a smart nation that has a digital and future-ready society, vibrant and sustainable economy, as well as a conducive digital ecosystem. To supplement the Digital Economy Master Plan 2025, BDCB launched the Digital Payment Roadmap 2019-2025 that outlined key strategic areas for developing the digital payment ecosystem that includes the enhancements to the telecommunication services and development of a digital payment hub in Brunei Darussalam. Excuse me. Before I end my keynote address, I would like to recall a few key takeaway points from the recent global events. The pandemic has brought upon us a realization that a crisis does not have to start with the failure of a financial institutions or instruments. It could start from any economic sectors. However, in addressing any crisis, two factors remain at a constant. That is, strong collaboration and effective communication. Similarly, as we embarked on this journey towards building a sustainable and better planet for future generations to come, we shall start with building a good foundation for collaboration and communication between central bankers, regulators, policymakers, and also industry players. Thank you.
Puan Haja. Thank you so much, Puan Haja Rokia. Ladies and gentlemen, we now invite from the government officials of People's Republic of China, His Excellency Mr. Deng Xijun, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the People's Republic of China to ASEAN for the second keynote address.
Thank you. Excellency Zhou Xuedong, Vice Chairman of China Development Bank. Excellency Ms. Haja Rokia Haji Bada, Managing Director of Brunei Darussalam Central Bank. Representatives of members of China ASEAN Interbank Association and ASEAN +3 Interbank Cooperation Mechanism. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great pleasure to attend the 11th Executive Board meeting of the China ASEAN Interbank Association and the second Executive Board meeting of the APT Interbank Cooperation Mechanism. I wish to extend on behalf of the Chinese mission to ASEAN warm congratulations on the convening of today's meeting and sincere thanks to friends and colleagues in the financial sector for your support for and engagement in China-ASEAN cooperation. This year marks the 30th anniversary of China-ASEAN dialogue relations. Over the past 30 years, China-ASEAN strategic partnership has been enriched by the enormous progress made across the political, security, economic, and social cultural pillars. Today, China and ASEAN have become each other's largest trading partner, most substantive cooperation partner, most vibrant strategic partner. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, China and ASEAN have stood side by side to tide over the crisis by jointly fighting the pandemic, promoting recovery and protecting people's livelihoods. setting an exemplary model of solidarity and cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region. At the 24th China-ASEAN Summit convened last week, leaders from our two sides agreed to establish a comprehensive strategic partnership between China and ASEAN that is meaningful, substantive, and mutually beneficial, and adopted the joint statement on cooperation in support of the China Comprehensive Recovery Framework, which will inject new impetus in the practical cooperation in various fields and in a closer China-ASEAN community with a shared future. Inaugurated in response to the Asian financial crisis, APT cooperation has been the main channel of cooperation in East Asia. Facing the dual challenges of pandemic response and economic recovery, we APT countries have conducted fruitful cooperation in pandemic prevention and control, vaccine production and research and development, and strive to stabilize the industrial and supply chains while upholding the spirit of solidarity, cooperation, openness, and inclusiveness. These united efforts have contributed to regional pandemic control and economic recovery and played a constructive role in maintaining stability and prosperity in East Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, financial cooperation is among the most important areas in the China, ASEAN, and APT cooperation framework. Since its establishment in 2010, the China-ASEAN Interbank Association has carried out fruitful cooperation in institutionalization, banking services, and capacity building, playing a positive role in supporting infrastructure connectivity and production capacity cooperation in the Mekong sub-region. The China-ASEAN Interbank Association has become an important platform for China-ASEAN financial cooperation. Though established just over a decade ago, the APT Interbank Cooperation Mechanism has already provided financing for a number of major key projects in the region, and China-Japan ROK cooperation in third-party markets. The mechanism has further diversified financing channels of the region and thus enriched the APT cooperation. At present, the pandemic is still raging and the economic recovery process is uneven among countries, coupled with multiple global and regional challenges. Yet, in the meantime, the pandemic has accelerated the development of the digital economy and the green economy, thus enabling the transformation and upgrading of conventional industries. This provides not only a key boost to countries in fighting against pandemic and promoting economic recovery, but also an important engine for high-quality development in the post-COVID era. Countries in the region should continue to work together to effectively strengthen the regional financial safety net with the Chiang Mai Initiative Multilateralization Agreement at its core, unleash the potential of cooperation in new areas including e-commerce, AI, smart city, green finance, and renewable energy with the support of pragmatic cooperation in the financial sector, and promote digital and green transformation. In this process, we hope China-ASEAN Interbank Association and APT Interbank Cooperation Mechanism will continue to provide targeted and effective financial support for projects and play a bigger role in enhancing regional financial governance and a sustainable and resilient recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, This year marks the centenary of the founding of the Communist Party of China. The CPC has led China to achieve historic achievements in economic and social development and embarked on a new journey toward building a modern socialist country in all respects. At present, China's economy sustains a steady recovery with solid and sound growth. While ushering in a new development stage, China will apply the new development philosophy and foster a new development paradigm. We will continue to promote innovative and green development for common prosperity. President Xi Jinping solemnly proposed the Global Development Initiative at the General Debate of the UNJ 76th session. He called on the international community to accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development for more robust, greener, and more balanced global development, and foster a global community of development with a shared future. This important initiative has set out a blueprint and pointed the way forward for the development of countries and international development cooperation, and will also open up broader prospects and provide more solid support for China, ASEAN, and East Asia cooperation. Colleagues and friends, as China-ASEAN relations advance ahead with greater mutuality, we will usher in the 25th anniversary of the APT cooperation mechanism next year, when our practical cooperation across the board will enjoy broader prospect. China is ready to work with ASEAN countries, Japan, and ROK in the spirit of real multilateralism to seize the opportunity to provide by the Global Development Initiative. By doing so, we will be able to stay focused on cooperation, seek common development, address challenges, and contribute to more robust, greener, and a more balanced regional and global development. I thank you for your attention.
Your Excellency, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, quick time check here in Brunei Darussalam. We are just coming up to 10 o'clock. So as for the program, we shall allow for a 10-minute break. So we look forward to your return back to this same space at 10 past 10. That's Brunei time, 10 minutes from now. Now, meanwhile, we have identified some of our key guests we'd love to join us in a separate sessions room for a group photograph. If our special guest could join us now for that during the break, we look forward to that very much. We'll see you back here 10 past 10. Thank you. So I think it's best we keep it to as it is. It's just like a normal convention. It's hard to get people back in from coffee breaks. So if you're all ready for a group photograph, we are more than ready. I'll count you down from 3 to 1 so we can really get the right moment. If you're ready, I'm going to count you down for our group photograph. Ms. Nobumitsu, are you comfortable? Yes? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm having a look at you all looking great in 3, 2, 1. We'll do one more. I'll count you down again in 3, 2, 1. Okay, we got it. We've got 2 lovely photographs. So with that, let's make a return back now to our main reception. You will have to press again your red leave button to leave this special sessions room, and we'll see you back on stage for the continuation of our sharing sessions. We'll see you in a few moments' time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And with that, we move straight into the first of our sharing sessions for today. Now, to lead us through a conversation on BIBD, digital future in the era of global pandemic, we'd like to welcome Yang Mulia Tuan Irwan bin Lamed, the Deputy Managing Director to and Head of Retail Banking Group at BIBD, for his conversation. Tuan Irwan, welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Hi and good morning to delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I will be sharing with you BIBD's perspective and thoughts process on digital future in the era of the global pandemic. So to make sense of this unprecedented COVID-19 public health crisis, it would be apt that we look back at the world history using the data from Medicine Project. From the Medicine Project, we see the world combined GDP over the last 2,000 years. What is surprising is how the world has stayed relatively the same for the first 1,700 years. But starting from the mid-18th century, the world has undergone a massive increase in productivity. With exponential growth in total world economic output, the world was transformed within a relatively short period of time. The key questions here are, number one, what caused such a massive wealth creation during the last 300 years? And number two, can the same exponential growth trajectory continue for another 3,000 years? The answer, obviously, is the industrial revolutions. As one industrial revolution fades and growth stagnates, we see it being renewed by the next one. The first industrial revolution was started by the invention of the steam engine. It revolutionized agriculture, textile, transportations, and it magnified the productivity of the world and made the world a smaller place for the first time. The next industrial revolution was powered by electricity and the invention of mass production techniques, marked by specializations and the development of industry standards. With the invention of electricity, it opened the door for more inventions like the telephone, radio, TV, amongst others. Then in the 1950s, the invention of semiconductor and supercomputer once again revolutionized the world. Robots began to replace humans in the assembly lines with even greater increase in productivity at lower unit costs. Obviously, the invention of computers opened the door to the advent of the era of the internet in the early 1990s. Computers began to communicate with one another and created a network of networks collecting data which will later be used to power AI and machine learning, making the way for the fourth industrial revolution. This is obviously an oversimplification, but we see three key themes emerging from these four cycles of industrial revolutions. The first theme is the exponential increase in productivity. The second is the process of creative destruction, with all industries replaced by new ones. And the third theme is the energy transitions and maximization of human well-being. Steam engine was displaced by electricity, coal as a source of energy was displaced by oil and gas. And now we are in the beginning of another energy transition cycle to renewables and green energy to power our future civilizations. In terms of the fourth industrial revolutions, there's a lot to unpack here, but the most important theme is the dephysicalization of products and services. In fact, BIBD and other financial institutions stands to benefit the most from this dephysicalization property. All of our banking products and services can be delivered instantaneously without requiring customers to even step foot into our branch. The second property is the displacement of incumbent players by new market entrants from the bottom, or what is described by Professor Clayton Christensen as the process of creative destruction. We have seen how Uber, Lyft, Grab disrupted taxis and public transport industry, how Airbnb disrupted hospitality industries, how Upwork disrupted business process outsourcing, or WeWork disrupting the office space market. Our banking business model is now overdue for similar disruption. Digital-only banking licenses are increasingly becoming more and more common across Asian markets. This displacement is also accelerating. Whilst it took 50 years for the telephone to reach 50 million users, today it only took 19 months for Instagram to reach 50 million subscribers and 1 year for WeChat. Going forward, as technologies becomes more reliable and frictionless, adoptions can only accelerate. The third salient features of the fourth industrial revolution is the shift in value towards maximizing human well-being. At BIBD, we call this the Maqasid Sharia principles. As humankind becomes more prosperous, our expectations will only increase. New renaissance driven by demand from young people like Greta Thunberg demanding actions on climate change have driven the narrative. Across the 4 industrial revolution cycles, we have seen humanity values shifted from focusing on wealth creation to health and education to free market and freedom of the individuals, and now towards meeting the basic needs of all humans on the planet Earth, equitable distribution of economic resources, climate action plan by decoupling growth from natural resources constraints to building a new story of how we want to live in the future. Driven by these 3 key insights, here is how they drive BIBD's strategic priorities and imperatives over the coming years. Number 1, as technologies becomes cheaper and faster, our first priority is for BIBD to re-architect our IT infrastructure away from centralized single process silo legacy system into a more agile system of systems and having a coherent set of data strategy that power our AI investment and harness the data learning effect. The second, in addition to that, it is also imperative for us to modernize our cybersecurity architecture by adopting the latest cutting-edge technologies such as the Zero Trust Network Architecture and Security by Design principles. The second imperative for BIBD is for us to embrace the power of creative disruption. We need to shift our business model into what Brett King described as the Bank 4.0. We need to harness that all-important network effect by building our own product service ecosystem and provide a safe environment where our people can innovate, learn firsthand how to build products and services using the first principle design thinking centered around utilitarian products and services value proposition. Finally, we also need to plan for our next generation of banking products and services wrapped around the values of ESG that's enabled and delivered through digital. Here we have formulated our sustainability framework centered around environmental protections, responsible entrepreneurships, and inclusive social impact. The world is rapidly changing, and we owe it to our children and children's children to create a more equitable society with clean air, clean water, clean energy, and protect our planet from irreversible damage. Sir Winston Churchill once said that to never let a good crisis go to waste. We need to use the COVID-19 public health crisis to reconfigure and rebuild our business stronger. So to conclude, here are the 3 key takeaways from BIBD. The first is that dephysicalization brings the greatest potential for scaling. But first, we must invest to modernize our IT infrastructure. Second is to embrace change and creative destruction. We need to adopt the new digital banking business model and build digital capabilities in-house. The third is to embrace ESG and maximization of human well-being into our future banking products and services that will be delivered digitally. Thank you.
Tuan Irwan, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we now have our member banks joining us for a series of sharing sessions on 3 different topics. The topics are digital transformation in the era of global pandemic. We'll also be discussing engaging the next generation of bankers towards sustainable development and integrating environmental, social, and corporate governance, ESG initiatives to banking practices. With that, our next speaker is Mr. Ng Sia Han from DBS Bank. Mr. Ng is Managing Director of Financial Institutions Group to share his views now on the digital transformation in the era of global pandemic. Over to you, sir.
Mr. Lee Hui-ho, Executive Director of KDB, Mr. Nobumitsu Hayashi, Deputy Director of JBIC, Ms. Haja Ruha Haji Pada, Managing Director of BDCB, His Excellency Mr. Teng Sijin, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the People's Republic of China to ASEAN, and fellow colleagues from the region. I'm very pleased to attend the Chinese ASEAN Interbank Association 11th Executive Board meeting. I really appreciate the efforts put in by the organizing committee to host this virtual meeting despite the challenging circumstances. Now, people often say, never waste a good crisis. In DBS, we viewed this crisis as a platform to accelerate our digital transformation journey and position ourselves ready for the new normal. Since COVID, various digital initiatives were launched to better our key stakeholders. We classify them into 3 categories: our customers, our community, and our staff. For our customers, we fast-tracked our digital banking roadmap. During the pandemic, we saw a 30% drop in footfall in our branches. We had to convert a lot of branches into self-serve terminals like ATMs and VTMs. And we also accelerated adoption of digital ID in Singapore and Hong Kong. One of our key products innovation is in contactless trade financing. We are the first Singapore bank to introduce comprehensive digital contact-free trade financing capabilities. DBS Digital Supplier Onboarding Solution was able to provide instant turnaround and saw a 5-fold increase in suppliers onboarded year on year. We also saw immediate uptake in relief loans and moratoriums requests. So we rolled out our tailored digital business loans for micro SMEs and social enterprises to access up to 200,000 in collateral-free funding within 24 hours with a fully digital application process that's simple and hassle-free. In total, we gave out more than 11 billion in corporate loans, 5 billion in mortgage relief, and 31 billion in government-related grants, all digitally. And when there are issues, clients are guided to our chatbots. The chatbot clocked more than 50,000 customer interactions relating to COVID relief schemes, and more than 90% of these are fully served digitally. For our community, we focus on migrant workers and seniors. For migrant workers, DBS remains the only Singapore bank to offer a tailored digital application for foreign workers in Singapore. We accelerated the opening of accounts for more than 60 migrant workers over the 3 months when Singapore was in this period called circuit breaker between April and June of 2020. We educated migrant workers across 43 dormitories nationwide on the use of digital banking services, including the checking of account balances, executing of digital payments, and remittances. We saw remittances go up by 2-fold between January 20 and June 2020 as people couldn't travel and send money anymore. For our seniors, by making the process simpler, we were able to use 15 clicks in under 3 minutes to open new accounts for a customer, which is still, I think, the best in class in the industry. We're able to increase digital adoption of banking apps by senior, a demographic that typically has not shifted into the digital transaction sphere. Between March and July 2020, digital banking retail customer increased by 200,000, with a 3-fold increase among customers over the age of 62. For our staff, keeping our employees safe meant 2 things: on-premise and off-premise. On-premise, we leverage in-house AI and machine learning capabilities to develop a contact tracing solution for up to 3 degrees of separation. So we combine employee data such as turnstile tabs, Wi-Fi connectivity with data analytics to greatly increase the accuracy of our traditional contact tracing and ensure protection of our employee data. This was launched within 2 days of our first positive case at DBS. It was made available across Singapore and all 5 core markets. Keeping our staff safe, externally, we call it cyber secure. With the increased phishing and hacking attack, we realized that the new normal when everyone's working from home, inside is the new outside, and we introduced equally stringent security controls for customers and staff, such as dynamic watermark, continuous data usage surveillances, behavioral biometrics, and further heightened security monitoring and staff awareness with a gamified campaign called Cyber Fit. To conclude, DBS continue to invest in the 3 pillars as we digitally transform the way we work. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share today, and I wish you all a fruitful discussion.
Mr. Eng Han from DBS Bank. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, to share now on the same topic, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Rombit Ko, Head of Financial Institutions, Institutional Banking Group, Banco de Oro BDO Unibank. Mr. Rombit, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of BDO Unibank Inc. from the Philippines, I'd like to take this opportunity first to congratulate the organizers and co-hosts of this event today, and also thank them for giving me the opportunity to share my slides. These are, of course, the board, senior management and staff of both Bank Islam, Brunei, and China Development Bank. Let me just try to share my screen now for my presentation. Okay. Let me start with that. Okay. Let me just start by my presentation by showing the market reach of BDO in the Philippines, where we have more than 1,500 branches and offices, and also over 4,000 ATMs all over the country. So for this presentation, I wanted to start by saying that the bank's digital journey actually began in 2017, where we have our digital vision of building a competitive digital presence which will enable the bank's products and services to surpass customer expectations in terms of functionality, convenience, and security, and supporting the bank's objective to be the preferred bank in every market we serve. So where are we now in this journey? First, our next-gen IT platforms are already operational. Second, our new applications are now being implemented under the new platforms. Third, conversion of legacy systems to the new platforms are about to commence. And fourth, it's upscaling ongoing. So it's just the hardware, software, and applications, but it's also the ability to train and make the staff aware of all these changes. The objective is really to enhance the customer experience with objectives of streamlining operations, simplifying forms, and improved efficiency, fully digitizing the processes, and also reducing cost over time. Now, the pandemic that began last year just made digitizing our systems or process, the customer experience, even more urgent. And some of the examples that the bank has done include an online current account, savings account opening. We've also introduced cardless ATM transaction, as well as paperless in-branch cash and check transaction. So for the online current account, savings account opening, we have introduced lower initial deposit. We have allowed video call account opening evaluation on a phased nationwide rollout. With the benefits, we hope to fully digitize the processes, enhance the customer experience, improve efficiency, and streamline operations. The bank has also introduced cardless ATMs on a phased basis as well, where customers have multiple cardless options of facial recognition, fingerprint scan, and using QR code to complete their transactions. So the fully digital in-branch experience, it's a paperless, also on a phased out rollout within Metro Manila to start with. Amongst the benefits are no more deposit slips, faster turnaround, and reduced cost over time. This year, a BDO introduced our e-wallet we call BDO Pay, our new mobile wallet. And this means that when you are sending or receiving money, no need to input account numbers. All you need to do is to link your directory. You can also use the QR functionality to pay for purchases in a number of retail establishments, amongst others. So our digital strategy is not just about products. What the client sees is mobile banking, cardless ATMs, online current account, savings account opening. But what they don't see is what's happening in the background, where the banks since 2017 have introduced robotics process automation, data analytics, end-to-end process re-engineering, cloud computing, of course, ensuring cybersecurity with a next-gen IT platform. And where does that digital journey took us to? As of June 2021, the bank has registered online banking users of 9 million, the largest base in the industry in the Philippines. Year to year, as of June 2021, there was a 20% growth in digital users. And our low value, high volume, real-time InstaPay, we have the largest market share amongst banks in sending and receiving. And so for the future, we continue our journey, not just with online banking, but also continued enhancements with cash management systems, customer contact center, our loan management system, wealth management, and remittance system. And on that, I thank everybody and have a good morning. Thank you.
Mr. Rombe, thank you so much. Have a great morning yourself too. So ladies and gentlemen, with that, we now hear from Lao Development Bank, Mr. Rajiv Jaiswal, the Deputy Managing Director, to now share on engaging the next generation of bankers towards sustainable development. Mr. Rajiv, welcome.
Some salam alaikum to everyone, to all the distinguished guests and the hosts of this meeting. We are really privileged to be part of this initiative for ESG, and where the focus is on the ESG and the SD, sustainable growth. Thank you. So the topic we are going to speak is on how the next generation of bankers can help us with the sustainable development for the globe. So before we go into that, we just want a small preview of how the world has shaped up in the last 1,000 years. 11th century was focused on the castles. We were building castles to bring peace inside the castle. We were fighting wars. 12th century, we were establishing law. We were writing law books. We were setting up the codes. 13th century, we were shifting from mercantile barter system to mercantile economy. 14th century, we were engulfed in plague, there were deaths, and we were really refocusing ourselves on the expectation of death, very similar to what we are facing today during the times of COVID. 15th century, we were finding land beyond our lands. We were looking into finding another countries, continents. We were moving towards one world. 16th century, we were reducing personal violence through better communication. We were able to find the guild party, establish guild, everything. 17th century, there was a lot of focus on the scientific revolutions we were making. And that's where the key change started happening. 18th century, French Revolution, we started focusing on equality. 19th century, the communication, the telegram, which now later led to phones and mobiles and new gadgets which are coming up. 20th century, we started predicting future. Now we are talking about, we could predict what the weather would be, and there were scientific models, etc. So what is the turning point in the 21st century? We will see velocity of change is very, very fast. It's now the way 20th century we started predicting future, 21st, it is now difficult, becoming more and more difficult to predict the future. We are changing very, very fast. The key thing is what we progressed. We can see like there's a lot of progress in the last 50 to 100 years. We have progressed very, very fast. But at the same time, the things that we have added to our globe or to our Earth were never existing in 1,000 years. If you see air pollution, if you see plastic, we never had any of this before 100 years. So this 100 years is like very fast development, but as well as very fast destruction of the planet. That's it. So this is our key theme of the sustainable development, and as defined by United Nations Development, UNDP, the 17 SDG that we all know, that focuses on ending the poverty, protecting the planet, and ensuring that we move towards peace and prosperity. We would like to just bring a bit of attention to few of the SDGs. So first and second, we already understand poverty and zero hunger. Third one is where there's a lot of focus that needs to be on reducing the pollution, because there are many silent diseases which are killing us and all of us. And we probably are passive about it. We probably are not actively thinking what to do. But now we slowly realize the impact of air and water pollution. Quality education, gender equality, definitely there. Next one is on the clean water and sanitation. Seventh is important, where we are talking about, we heard from all the speakers about carbon neutrality, etc. So, and we are the one who have contributed like 73% of this carbon on this greenhouse effect. So we are the one who have to really take it back, and we have to make it safer for the future generations. We also have to eradicate modern slavery. We have to focus on accessing banking and insurance to all. We have to make credit and financial services affordable to all. And we can also, income growth, if you see, there is a lot of disparity that we have to focus on, how to reduce the disparity and make all equal. We can also focus on safe, affordable, accessing sustainable transport. Public transport is one of the main things that can help us in the SDs. And food waste is another topic where we have to focus a lot to, if we have to help our Earth. Climate action, definitely, there's a lot of action needed. And then there are the SDGs on the life below water, life on land, and peace and justice, and partnership. Partnership among all of us is very important. So now let's talk about how the future generation can help us. Before that, let's understand what is this new generation. If you look at the generation Gen Z and the Gen Y, which is the millennials, they are very savvy with the new technology. They are, at the same time, they are very focused. They are the right audience because they are focused on giving back to the society. They see that as one of their objectives, to give back to the society. They are very much determined to do this. So they are right person who can help us in future. Next one. So how they can help us? Let's look at few examples. These are just few examples we would like to share with you. One is, bank is one of the biggest investment for the technology companies, and we have invested a lot in the IT. So using these apps, etc., what we can do is we can help we can help automate the accounting. We can do lending via the self-help groups. We can focus on them. What this self-help group does, they are like, you have seen this example in Bangladesh, Muhammad Yunus and others, and many other countries, African countries, many other places where there is a lot of poverty. when you're not able to do good lending from the banks, there are community lending, which helps us. The community decides how much to lend within themselves, and they also get a decent earning. At times, their earnings are more than the bank deposit rates. So this is where we can use our apps technology to support these SHGs, so that you can provide them more robust framework where they feel comfortable to lend to each other. Second, we can use our network for government initiative, financial aid programs. We can use our branch networks and the technology together to say that how to identify the target groups, how to disburse, how to monitor the progress and the milestones, and help collect the repayment and sale proceeds. This is where we can use our technology and the bank network. Third one, we want to focus on predictive models, techniques. The last 2-3 decades, all of the banks have invested and gained a lot of expertise in the risk management and the mark-to-market calculations, etc. This is what this quantitative models can be used to underwrite potential beneficiaries, to design derivatives for some of the financial aids that we need to provide, where the swaps and options, swaps mainly, can be designed to help in the financial aids. Fourth thing, we want to talk about blockchain technologies, and the blockchain technologies, we can focus and we can find out, trace the funds really from the starting from the government agency to the beneficiary, exact beneficiary, whether it is reaching the right audience, and is it properly used or not. So that is one area that we can use our blockchain technologies. Next one, we are talking about promoting in-house inside our banks, what we can do. With the COVID, we have seen a lot of focus on the work from home and flexi hours. This is where like people, women who used to go on maternity, and after maternity at times they used to resign. They can now opt for work from home or flexi hours or maybe part-time working. So these are the things which are now gaining more prominence during the COVID times. So we can use this. And other employees who could not travel, and now because some jobs needed travel, we could not avoid travel. Now we can see travel is not so much required for many of such jobs. These are the areas where we can, other people who had some travel constraint, they can start participating. So this is trying to bring equality inside our organizations. Next one, sustainability in-house. We can focus on reducing the food waste inside our facilities. We can switch on to green options, energy options. We can also switch on to promoting hiring and equality in hiring and promotions, and motivating our staff to undertake some voluntary activities so that we pay for their services, but they can help mentor people, other sections of the society. And we can also focus in-house on the priority sector lending, how much, what we should be lending to which sectors, try not to lend which are doing destructive activities, destructive fishing, contaminating rivers and lakes, try to reduce or not to lend, but at the same time promoting lending to other people who are supporting our globe in the sustainable development initiatives. Just to summarize, so we can leverage our bank's software, we can focus on self-help group lending, we can support international domestic aid agencies through our networks, we can through blockchain initiative, using the predictive analysis and supporting them. We can support in-house activities. These are the areas we can focus on. So that's all from us, and thanks a lot for patient hearing. Thank you. Sabedi, Khopchai.
Mr. Rajiv, thank you so much from Lao Development Bank. So ladies and gentlemen, we have a final sharing session. It's my pleasure to now welcome Mr. Tran Tien Dong, Executive Vice President, the Deputy Head of Financial Institutions Department, Bank for Investment and Development of Vietnam, the BIDV, to speak today on integrating environmental, social, and corporate governance ECG initiatives to banking practices. Mr. Tran Tien Dong, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Excellencies, Ambassador and senior officials from CDB, from KDB and JBIC, distinguished delegates from CAIBA member. First of all, allow me to convey the very best regards from BIBD to all the distinguished guests and fellow delegates from member banks joining the event today. We would like also to thank Bank Islam Brunei Darussalam and China Development Bank for hosting the 11th China ASEAN Interbank Association Executive Board meeting and ASEAN +3 Interbank Cooperation Mechanism. Last year, BIDV, we have the honor to co-hosted the event, and today we are very happy and would like to congratulate Bank Islam Brunei Darussalam and CDB for a very successful organization so far. As the theme of our forum this year is empowering the future with sustainability goals and digitalizations, I would be honored to share with you about BIDV in our banking practices related to environmental, social, and corporate governance. As we are here, the United Nations Climate Change Conference UK 2021 is also open in Glasgow, Scotland. Vietnam is one of the countries that most likely to be affected by climate change because most of our populations live in low-lying coastal area. Vietnam government has adopted a national green growth strategy and developed a corresponding green growth action plans since 2012 with a vision to 2050, and implemented a new national plan of green economy for the period from 2021 until 2030. The national target of reducing total greenhouse emissions by 15% by 2030 to reduce the effects of climate change will provide climate opportunities, and which will represent a great potential for green finance in Vietnam market. In the banking sector, the State Bank of Vietnam has also implemented a set of policies for all the banks and credit institutions to achieve that national goals. And with all that guidelines and strategies, our bank BIDV has implemented multiple solutions and green credit packages to support SMEs and other business sectors in the area of green finance. Let me share some ideas and information here. Regarding corporate governance, BIDV has always prioritized the responsibilities with the environment, with society and community in doing businesses. We are also applying the model of green banking office with the theme of green being environmental friendly, reduce the energy and paper uses, and for all of our office. Relating to credit policies, BIDV requires ESMS assessment in the process of credit appraisals to secure the compliance of each project with our laws and regulations. And since 2019, under the assistance of the ASEAN Development Bank, BIDV has applied a framework on ESMS, which is designed to be in line with international current practices and Vietnam laws. About our credit portfolio, BIDV have implementing multiple green credit packages and especially we always applying preferable conditions to for projects in the areas of renewable energy, clean energy, low carbon emission industries. By 2021, this year, BIBD has funded 870 green projects with a total credit amount around $2 billion. In the last 3 years, the growth rate of green credit from BIBD is achieved the average of 67% per year. And in the next 5 years, we expect green credit would account for about 5% of our total outstanding loans. And in BIBD, we strongly believe that international cooperation is one of the key focuses to promote green financing worldwide. And thanks to our bank nationwide network and prestige and capacity, in recent years, BIBD has been chosen by international organizations to entrust funds financing sustainable projects with the total amount nearly $400 million. And fellow delegates, for a more sustainable development in the regions and closer collaboration among member banks of our associations, BIBD would like to propose some following ideas for your further considerations. First, our member banks will continue to such sharing sessions on green financings, including the implementation of environmental, social, and corporate governance. Secondly, the member banks consider to foster further collaborations in the area of green financings under such model as co-financing, syndication, two-step loans, standby LCs for customer, and so on. That's some of the idea that we would like to share in this very significant event. And once again, allow us to send our thanks to Brunei, Bank Islam Brunei Darussalam, China Development Banks, for your best efforts in this very successful meeting. And we also wish the friendship and success for all the member banks of CAIBA and ASEAN +3. I wish you all health, happiness, and success. And thank you very much.
Mr. Tran from Vietnam, thank you so much, concluding our sharing sessions. So ladies and gentlemen, with that, time has really flown by today. The time has now come for Brunei to now hand over as host of the executive board meetings of CAIBA and APTIBCM to Canadian Bank. Let's now continue with our handover ceremony. We hope to also hear today from Mr. Charles Van, Executive Vice President. We'll see how that goes. But for now, we continue with our handover ceremony to Cambodia.
Mr. Sophian Jenny, Board of Directors of BIBD, Mr. Su Tongchu, Executive Vice President of CDB, Mr. Lee Byung-ho, Executive Director of KDB, Mr. Nobumitsu Hayashi, Deputy Governor of JPIC, Mrs. Haja Rokyo, Haji Bada, Managing Director of BIBD. His Excellency Mr. Deng Xijun, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the People's Republic of China to ASEAN. Distinguished Head of Delegates and Delegates of CAIBA and APTIBCM, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor, on behalf of Canada Banks as well as Cambodia, to take turn as the co-chair next year of Executive Board meetings. I would like to deeply thank BIBD and CDB for smoothly and excellently hosting the meeting today. I highly appreciate our members bank for their invaluable sharing of their idea and experiences on sustainable development of our banking on all main angles from digitalization to governance. This would help us more robust, resilient against any predictable next crisis. Since the founding of CAIBA in October 2010, we come a long way and have made significant progress in our efforts to build a better future for ASEAN and to continue to expand and drilling the lasting relationship between China and ASEAN nations. The unity among us has allowed us to realize important success as we advance toward our common goal and objective. And I have never been more excited about what the future holds for ASEAN as an economic bloc. And our relationship with our partners China Development Bank CDB, I have the honors to inform all gathered here at these meetings today that the progress we have made today has placed us on the path of ASEAN to be a major global economic power. What we have achieved and what we will achieve is not simply for us alone. It is for the generation that we come after us, that we had to the next generation a foundation built on economic strengths, opportunity and prosperity, that in the future they have the resources, quality education, reliable infrastructure, advanced healthcare, good job and career prospect, and advanced technology to come to complete in our ever-increasing interconnected global economy. For our meeting next year, I strongly believe that we can do it face-to-face because the rate of the vaccination in our region keep increasing and would reach a high level by the time of reunion. In addition, some countries have already lessened the travel restrictions and requirements, and most of our people are also noticed to have learned to live in the new normal amidst COVID-19 circulation. Therefore, we can arrange the face-to-face meeting like expectation. It will be my great pleasure, honors to host our annual event. Indeed, for this first time in the post-COVID-19 era, we look forward to warmly welcome you all in Cambodia, Kingdom of Cambodia. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the handover to Canadian Bank, congratulations. It's my pleasure to now welcome Mr. Mubashir Kokar, Managing Director and CEO BIBD, for our closing remarks this morning. Mr. Mubashir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Senior Management of China Development Bank, representatives of China ASEAN Interbank Association, representatives of the ASEAN +3 Interbank Cooperation Mechanism, respective delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good morning. It has been a great privilege for BIBD to co-chair the 2021 Executive Board meeting of China ASEAN Interbank Association and ASEAN +3 Interbank Cooperation Mechanism with China Development Bank this morning. Despite facing unprecedented challenges brought about by COVID-19, our resilience and determination to cooperate and rejuvenate our economies have led to a successful convening of today's virtual meeting. Our theme of empowering the future with sustainability goals and digitalization is a timely and fitting topic of discussion, as we are all aware of the need to position ourselves at the heart of a global community that seeks to build a more sustainable financial system. There is now a rising awareness that banks and financial institutions can play a role in promoting wholesale practices and benefit not just the corporations but also community. As concerns over climate change have become more widespread, responsible resource utilization, sustainability have emerged as the primary metrics in evaluating modern corporations. As a partner in progress for Brunei, BIBD has always actively supported the government of His Majesty the Sultan and Young Di Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam to achieve the country's national aspiration of developing a dynamic and sustainable economy. We have always been guided by the Maqasid Sharia, our fundamental principles and values that shape us as Islamic financial institution. These age-old principles also align closely to a wider set of sustainability principles, the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, UN SDGs. Supporting these principles is also deeply intertwined with our Brunei at Heart DNA that aims to preserve the well-being of our people and society. Earlier this year, we embarked on the journey towards making the world a better and greener place by developing practical ways of aligning our sustainability values with our business practices. Our hope is to lead the way towards a future that is more equitable and sustainable, not just in Brunei Darussalam, but in the wider ASEAN and Asia-Pacific region. BIBD also realizes that digital is emerging as a catalyst for sustainable transformations. COVID-19 has accelerated the need for different strategies around innovation and digital banking, bringing greater awareness and acceptance around the vast potential of the digital space. At BIBD, digitalization has always been at the cornerstone of how we do business. Our digital banking ecosystem provides a range of cashless payment methods, many of which have been a first in Brunei. It was during the height of pandemic that we launched our Go campaign to encourage customers to go cashless and go digital, and carrying out their banking needs on the digital platforms to stay safe, reduce crowd at branches, and minimize the risk of further spreading the virus. Today's discussions around digitalization, sustainability, ESG, and social inclusivity have been an eye-opening, and I hope will be food for thought as our respective countries continue to move forward out of the shadow of the pandemic. I commend the CAIBA and APTIBCM platforms for their efforts in addressing current issues and deepening our cooperation in key areas to unlock regional development potentials. It has been an honor to be among such accomplished individuals and be able to provide the platform today for us to explore ideas that serve our common goals of building a sustainable economy whilst enhancing regional prosperity and stability. On behalf of BIBD, I hope that today's meeting will provide an impetus for us to make the most of multilateral mechanisms of financial cooperation, working closely together to overcome challenges and realize our goals. Thank you.
Mr. Mubashar, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we bring to a close our 2021 meetings from Brunei Darussalam. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you all in 2022 with Canadian Bank in Cambodia. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.